Hey, good morning. It is Saturday, May the 9th. I'm Ali Velshi, and there's a story unfolding right now in the American South that might not be at the top of your news feed, but I happen to think it's the most urgent problem facing every one of us today, no matter where in the country we live. It's a story you might even think you know because it started like so many second-term Trump emergencies, looking like a shameless power grab by a wannabe dictator facing the electoral consequences of his deeply unpopular regime. But two major developments in recent days have turned this cynical Trumpian scheme into a real-time deconstruction of our multiracial democracy. What we're witnessing as a result is the dawn of a new Jim Crow era, one that uses the same pernicious strategy of leveraging bad faith pretense and dirty tricks to rob American citizens of their voting rights or of the weight and value of their vote. The first part, the laying of the groundwork, you probably remember. Donald Trump was afraid of his party losing the midterms because his policies are so fantastically unpopular, so he set forth a plan, quite openly, of targeted gerrymandering to rig congressional district maps so that Republicans would pick up extra seats without picking up any extra votes. It began in Texas with a phone call from Donald Trump to Governor Abbott. Last August, Trump states his desires very plainly.
We have an opportunity in Texas to pick up 5 seats. We have a really good governor, and we have good people in Texas. And I won Texas. I got the highest vote in the history of Texas, as you probably know. And we are entitled to 5 more seats.
Entitled? It spread state to state, anywhere with a Republican state house. One of the only GOP-led states to buck the request from Trump was Indiana, where a handful of state senators, Republican state senators, voted down the effort to change their state map. Trump was quick to target them for retribution. In fact, this past Tuesday, in the Republican primaries in Indiana, 6 of 8 Republican state senators who opposed Donald Trump's redistricting effort were voted out by the MAGA base. They were replaced by Trump-endorsed candidates. Now, across the country, some Democrats fought back. In California and Virginia, both states which believe that redistricting should be nonpartisan, Democrats organized referendums to allow voters, the ones who actually matter, the choice to adopt new maps as a sort of a counterbalance. So for a while, it was a fight. But then 2 rulings from 2 different courts changed everything. First, the U.S. Supreme Court effectively tore down the last real remaining pillar of the Voting Rights Act last week, erasing protections that were designed to preserve the voting power of black communities. That cleared the way for southern states to redraw districts in ways that will unquestionably dilute black voting rights, eliminate black majority districts, and roll back black representation in Congress. And they rushed to do exactly that. Louisiana, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, and South Carolina all began the process for implementing new maps. On Thursday, Tennessee's governor signed into law a congressional map. It's hard to see that these 2 maps look the same. Look at the one on the left, look at the bottom left corner, the little blue thing, and look at the one on the right. This new congressional map eliminates the only majority black district in the entire state, which is the Democratic-held district surrounding Memphis. You can see how they did it on this map. They took the 9th congressional district, which included Memphis and its surrounding area, and split it into 3 different districts. In gerrymandering speak, that's what's known as cracking. You take a concentrated population of voters and you crack the block into separate districts, diluting the voting power of that group. Every eligible voter in Memphis will get to vote this November, but their vote will mean less by design. Yesterday, a legislative committee met in Louisiana to discuss a new map which would eliminate one of 2 majority black districts in that state. Louisiana is 1/3 black, and under the new map that erases a black majority district, the state will have 1/6 black majority congressional districts. Mind you, 40,000 people have already voted in the state's primary, which has now been suspended. Alabama Republicans are attempting to fast-track a new map targeting 2 predominantly black congressional districts. Over a quarter of Alabama's population is black. They may not have a single representative in Congress after this. They'll still get to cast a ballot this November, but their votes will mean less by design. Mississippi Republicans will convene for a special session on May the 20th to discuss new state Supreme Court maps. It took Florida Republicans no time to pass a new map which targeted 4 Democratic seats. South Carolina Republicans are trying to eliminate the state's lone Democratic seat held by Congressman Jim Clyburn. But the Republican State Senate, their leader there isn't fully convinced just yet. But if they do push forward, they will have to delay their state's primary. And then yesterday, the other shoe dropped. The Virginia Supreme Court ruled that the state's new map, the one that would have benefited Democrats, the one voted in by the citizens of Virginia a couple of weeks ago, is unconstitutional. The ruling was essentially procedural. The referendum to redistrict was a constitutional amendment, and Virginia has a strict process for enacting constitutional amendments. In a 4-3 split decision, judges found a flaw in how the referendum was brought to Virginia voters, and they threw it out, without regard for the fact that they voted. Virginia voters voted 2 weeks ago to approve the amendment, which is to say that the state Supreme Court in Virginia has invalidated 1.6 million votes. It's invalidated the clear preference for Democratic governance in Virginia that Virginia voters have voted for loud and clear since last November. You may be wondering how in a functioning democracy we can land in such a place, where Louisiana's governor can suspend an election to push through a new map. And in Tennessee, it takes 4 business days to disenfranchise 1 million black voters. Florida and Mississippi and Alabama pushing through new maps, but Virginia can hold a whole election to decide on a new map by popular vote, and the will of the people gets tossed out by the courts. This is a flashing red warning light that we are slipping out of being a functional democracy. Right now, in real time, a patchwork legal system for drawing congressional maps means some states, like California, have nonpartisan redistricting commissions. Virginia is also bipartisan. And other states leave it up to their legislature. In Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Republicans hold veto-proof majorities in the state legislature, which doesn't matter because the governor's a Republican anyway. They wouldn't veto it. But this means fewer legal hurdles to jump. In Florida's case, they just ignored their state constitution entirely. Back in 2010, Florida voters passed an anti-gerrymandering amendment. Florida's new map is being challenged on that basis, but the Florida Supreme Court is packed with Ron DeSantis allies, so again, it's not going to matter. Let's be clear, this system diminishes the power of everyone's vote. You may not live in Louisiana or Tennessee or Alabama or Mississippi, but if we are living in a system where everyone's vote doesn't carry the same weight, it means your vote is diluted too. Doesn't matter how hard you vote Democrat in California or New York if the system is rigged in half a dozen southern states. That is where democracy is defeated. In the abstractions, in the corrupting little power grabs and screams. Democracy is not defeated because somebody stands up and says, democracy ends on Tuesday. It's defeated in the dozens or hundreds of smaller, malevolent moves against it. And right now, this is the most important one. And look, Democrats were always the underdogs in this fight. Their approach to mid-decade redistricting was retaliatory. Democratic-led redistricting has been framed as a necessary offset to Trump's push in Republican-led states. The disenfranchisement of black voters we're seeing now is the culmination of a larger political project to marginalize minorities, and it's going to take more than a few extra seats in California to fight it back. What this country needs to start thinking about is a new reconstruction. Nonpartisan, nationwide redistricting, campaign finance restrictions, easier elections, or at least elections that are easier to vote in, and a fair and just Supreme Court. The response to measured autocracy cannot be improvised. It cannot be improvised retaliation. Let me tell you about the states that have already enacted new maps and the party which stands to benefit from each. In Texas, Republicans could gain 5 seats, 1 seat in North Carolina, 1 or 2 in Ohio, 3 or 4 in Florida, 1 in Tennessee. Democrats, on the other hand, could gain 5 seats in California, 1 in Utah. Louisiana could add yet 1 more in the Republican column. But even these gains, I just want to be fair, are presumptive. Voters haven't voted yet. Nothing is certain. What's left of American democracy is, in fact, up to you, up to voters, defying the expectations of people who seek predetermined outcomes to elections, who seek to choose their voters rather than to let their voters choose them.